as we move on here, we're going to look at all these various risks we're worried about and how are they going to come into play when we have this audit. So the risks that affect an audit, as you can see here, factors that affect business risk, the economic climate. Are we with high interest rates? Is there great inflation going on? Or what about, what's the unemployment rate? Do you see how those external external factors can truly create, we have to be aware of how that's going to play out with the business we're auditing? What kind of competition's out there? Let's say we're dealing with Verizon, you know, the telephone industry, or what do you call it? Verizon and AT&T and Sprint and all them. Telephone? What? Cell phone service. So, I mean, dog eat dog world out there right now. Did you guys see the best ad in the Super Bowl? Okay, I'm sorry. We just have to take a little minute break because this, in my opinion, I didn't like the Super Bowl because Peyton was not playing to par, but this was a great ad. T-Mobile ad Super Bowl. Did you guys see it? Okay, let's see if I can get this sucker to work. I don't know what's wrong. Why this sucker won't work, but. Oh, where is he? Why can't I get it to darn? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Guys, look, but it's hilarious. He's talking about, hey, it's great I don't have a contract right now because I get, he really doesn't have a contract right now because I get to do all these things. So he's out hustling this. He's speaking world peace and he's talking about, he's doing all these awesome things, just being a total geek. And then he says, so if you want to switch your contract, go for T-Mobile. Get it? Because he's like without a contract. It's not really funny, is it? Watch it. It's really hilarious. Kind of cute. So anyway, what was that all about? Oh, business competition and volatility. I knew I had a purpose in bringing that up. I always try to get something there. But volatility, who else is competing for the same public arena? The competition, are you a new upstart in a company? Are you still trying to sell Tyco Beanie Babies? The Tyco Beanie Babies went away in the 80s, didn't they? Get it? Kind of get what I'm probably not giving you a good enough analogy. But all of those external factors that affect business risk really need to be looked at. And that's where you look at, is this entity, how's it going to fare in this climate? Now, financial are factors that affect financial reporting risk. What are we going to look at here? How do we feel about management? Are they an Enron type of management, dog eat dog, you better increase your sales 10% a year or you're out of here? Or is the management focused on presenting an ethical approach, doing the right thing, providing services and satisfied customers? What does the management, the level of management, what do they portray and how does that get passed down to the employees? Do managers receive most of their money from big stock options? Why could that be a problem? They're going to do anything they can to push those stock prices higher or to push the revenues higher so they meet their marks. Now, it's bittersweet because, guys, we want to be in an environment where we do succeed. But at what level can you maybe be thwarted to cut some corners as a result of trying to excel? Complexity of transactions. Are these transactions something we're familiar with? Are they starting to create new transactions that we just can't follow well? What type of entity and what type of business environment are we dealing with? What type of subsidiaries or relationships among other businesses are there? And then internal controls. Why is that important? Why do we care about taking an assessment and understanding the internal controls? It brings out the weaknesses in the company structure and the potential errors that can happen as a result of internal controls. So, for example, what if there is only one warehouse clerk that checks in all the stuff and submits it to the appropriate department and checks off that it's come in? What is the potential issue with just having one person handle a couple different responsibilities? What?
He might check in something that is not there.
He would check in something that's not there and say that it was submitted, which creates what? Lack of controls. No checks and balances. So as a result of no checks and balances, you really don't have that security in place that where you know that a company is going to catch potential things that slide through. Did I ever tell you a story? This is true. This is a true story. Marie and I were at a continuing education conference last year, and the auditor told us the story, or the speaker. True story. This will blow your mind. Mayo Clinic. He used to work he actually still works for the Mayo Clinic. And he is an internal auditor at the Mayo Clinic. And he went to his boss and said, I want to do something, but I don't want anyone in this company to know what I'm going to do. Basically, he went and he opened up a P.O. box at a local UPS. And he now he knew enough about the Mayo Clinic to maybe know certain departments and where they could have been lacking certain controls. So he sent invoices to various departments throughout the Mayo Clinic. He sent exactly 16 invoices. They were all fake, and they all got sent to one P.O. box. Guess how many of those 16 invoices got paid? Huh? All of them? Close. Guess again. 15 of the 16 invoices got paid. Nobody checked addresses and cross-checked in the system to see if this was a true business. He did pick some that were true businesses. I mean, he created some fake businesses. Guys, 15 out of 16 of these got paid. What does that tell you? They're not even making sure they owe money. And I need to go on and explain. It just didn't happen that way the first time. What he did was some of the ones that didn't get paid after 2 or 3 months, he started sending, like, if this isn't paid, I'm sending you to collections on this, and then they'd get paid. So he created all of this tension and stress. There were no backup purchase orders. I mean, there was nothing. They got 15 out of 16 got paid. What would you say about the Mayo Clinic? But we're talking, it was throughout all different departments. Lack of internal controls.
They have to review the whole organizational structure.
Obviously, they've got some major changes that need to take place. Would you say they're lacking in some controls there? Shouldn't you have some type of person that's signing off on certain, bills. He had some for services. You know, it wasn't, usually this didn't involve just like items. It involved services and stuff like that. But the point is, there was no backup. There were no checks and balances. No one approving anything. They just got approved.
But the point is that you think you want to ask the question that a corporation like Mayor is supposed to have had like an accounting system in place that when the service is rendered, that is recorded. So when an invoice comes in before you pay, that system is supposed to cross-check that. You can't be paying out invoices based without any base on them.
Do you see how sometimes, though, a large company like that, the checks and balances should not get lost, but do get lost? In other words, say there's a certain department that needed a machine to be fixed. There should be guidelines in place that show they requested that service, someone that would have signed off on that service, someone who then can approve it. But they just get a bill and then assign it. It just shows that there's not those guidelines in place. You know, of course they just signed off on it and went right to accounting, and accounting paid it. But shouldn't have accounting requested, you know, a requisition, you know, the paper trail? None of that. So the failure was all over the board, which shows, guys, lack of internal controls, doesn't it? Doesn't it to you? Okay, so as we move on here, the outside factors of business, our environment, affect our business risk. Those internal factors, such as the complexity of transactions, how the management is, the internal controls, affect financial reporting risk. And then do you see how both of these ultimately affect our engagement risk? And then how those ultimately will play out with the audit risk. Understand this diagram to see how the external factors are going to affect your business risk. Those internal factors are going to affect your financial reporting risk. Both are going to connect in with engagement risk, and ultimately the fact that we might show an opinion that is in fact wrong. Any questions on this slide before we move on, guys? Yes, no, good, bad? Management integrity. What can we do to find out about management integrity? Well, if we're a new auditor, we need to talk to the previous auditors. We need to go and talk to them. We need to get permission to talk to them. But we need to talk to them and find out, why aren't you there anymore? Can you tell us what you saw, good, bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly? What was your experience like? Now, guys, what would you think if we went to the client and said, or potential client and said, we want to talk to the previous auditors, and they said no? Would you take that audit engagement? Run, right? Because technically, part of our procedures are to ask questions with the previous auditor. If they don't want us talking to them, boy, that would create a red flag for me. What was your experience? Independent sources of information. Guys, in this day and age, you can get on the internet and find out a lot about anything, can't you? You can find out complaints. You can find out lawsuits. You can find out all kinds of stuff about a company. Take the time just to find out on your own what the company's back history has been. Then independence and competence of management. This is where we can truly find out who management is, what their schooling level is, their experience level, who they are as people. It's amazing what you can Google and find stuff out, isn't it? And the board of directors. What kind of people do they have working? Are they all internal directors? Are there people outside in the community that can have independence? What did we learn about those individuals who might be the president or management, and those are the individuals that are board of directors? They're not going to have quite the independence that an external person may have, wouldn't they? Make sense? And then quality of management's